Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Max Planck as a part of the Scientific Biography series. Max Planck was influential in our understanding of quantum mechanics, so I of course wrote a quantum of knowledge about Max Planck. These videos aren't very long. If you want more in-depth information about Planck and his life, there are plenty of other resources to do that. This is going to give you a kind of a brief overview. So let's get started. So who was Max Planck? He was a German theoretical physicist. He won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1918 for his work on the quantum mechanics, and he is the name atop the German scientific institution. It's now called the Max Planck Society, and has 83 institutions within its umbrella that investigate all different matters of science. So you can kind of compare the Max Planck Society to like the Royal Academy in England, or there's one in France too. I don't remember what it's called, but right there, it's similar to that. So kind of a big deal. Some of the things he did scientifically, he worked a lot on black body radiation. He wasn't the first to look at it, but he was the first to kind of clearly articulate it theoretically. So he took all this data and was able to write a law that explained why it worked that way. Black body radiation, for those who don't know, is released from a perfect electromagnetic absorber. So something that's really black and absorbs electromagnetic radiation also can release it. And so the Planck black body law explained clearly all this data that they had been coming together with, and it replaced two other theories, the Wien and the Rayleigh-James laws, that did not work universally. One of them worked really well on one end of the electromagnetic spectrum, the other worked really well on the other end, but the Planck law basically tied it all together and made it work universally, which is something that scientists tend to do, right? When we write a law of nature, we want to make sure that it explains all types of phenomena within that subject. So Planck was able to do that for black body radiation. He also, while doing this, came up with Planck's constant, which is part of the equation E equals hv. In this equation, h is Planck's constant, and v is the frequency of the radiation. So if you multiply this constant times its frequency, you get the amount of energy that radiation has. The equation is now considered the birth of modern quantum physics, because it's showing that energy is related to the frequency of radiation, right? So that means that there are certain energies that aren't available because that frequency is not available. And branching off of his discovery, Planck began to explore more of quantum mechanics, trying to understand this new set of units and understanding he had unlocked by making this realization. Planck also worked really closely with Einstein after Einstein published his theory of special relativity. He used his influence to make sure that relativity was widely accepted in Germany, and eventually used his own position of power within the scientific community in Germany to make sure Einstein got a professorship at his university, and the two began to work together to kind of continue that important work. In the 20s, Schrödinger, Lau, Einstein, and Planck competed with other scientists in Copenhagen, which were like Bohr, Heisenberg, and Pauli, to start interpreting quantum mechanics and make it make theories that utilized it. Planck expected that wave mechanics would render quantum theory obsolete. However, that turned out not to be true. Wave mechanics actually kind of works into quantum theory. And the Berlin camp and the Copenhagen camp would end up solving different pieces of the quantum theory. All these different scientists put a lot of different things into it. So for instance, right, Schrödinger really worked on wave mechanics. Einstein had relativity. Planck was working with quantum mechanics. Bohr was doing the model of the atom based on quantum mechanics. Heisenberg had his uncertainty principle about electrons. Pauli has the exclusion principle, right? So they're all working on different parts of it. And so together it all fits into this nice quantum group that we now recognize, but at the time, right, they were competing groups. Planck has a pretty hefty legacy in Germany. He's a well-known scientist the world over, and he now adorns the German Science Organization, right? He is responsible for bringing German scientists together, and he was the longtime leader of this organization. So his contributions to that are well known, as well as, right, his contributions to our understanding of quantum theory, along with Einstein and Schrodinger and all of them. So he's known a lot for that. On the other hand, however, he does have kind of a mixed legacy, because he was also the leader of this society during the Nazi takeover of Germany. He did, however, take a stand against these Nazis when it came to the treatment of Jewish scientists. Initially, Planck used his position of power not to really intervene, explaining it would be best if he just remained in charge instead of people who were worse taking over. But he secretly allowed Jewish scientists to continue working in German labs under his watch, and allowed them to continue their work. When his term as president ended, he was forced to not run again, and people who followed Hitler's views took his place. Planck himself ended up being investigated by the Nazis, since he still supported Einstein, who had left to America, and since Einstein was Jewish, the Nazis were investigating Planck as not being a true German. So he had to lay low for a while there, so as to not be arrested and potentially sent to one of the concentration camps in Germany. Thank you guys so much for watching and learning about Max Planck, one of the greatest scientists of the modern physics era, and one of the greatest German scientists in history. Like I say at the end of all these videos, if there's someone in particular you want to learn about, or if there's a topic that we haven't covered, and you want to learn more about something different, comment on the video and we can make videos tailored to what you want to learn about. That's the kind of awesome things that we do here. So if there's something you want to learn about, go ahead and make that comment. Otherwise, thanks again for watching Scientific Biography, and we'll see you next time. Bye.